Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. So, Lord Jesus, we want to pray, thank you this evening for this day that you've given us, and in fact, this season you've given us, in which we get to be thankful and express thanks. So thank you. Thank you for this day, a day that you have been with us every step of the way. That includes right now. And we pause before this meeting tonight to say that we are grateful that you know us, that you love us, that you hear all that we say and even what we don't say. Thank you for this community, Lord. Thank you for the men and women here in this room that are tasked with responsibilities to seek the well-being of this community. I ask that in their deliberations they would be wise and to think rightly and fairly, understand the issues, and make good decisions. Decisions that would be a blessing to this community. And so help us, help them. Help us to live in peace with one another, to conduct our lives in ways that add well-being to our community. Again, thank you for this evening. Thank you for these leaders and their officials. Thank you for their families. Help them to know your favor in their public service and in their private lives. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was just going to say.
Good evening, everyone. It is 5:30, November 15th, 2021, and I'll call this meeting of the Fergus Falls City Council to order. Roll call, please.
Hayward.
Here.
Holly.
Here.
Rupert.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Arneson.
Here.
Gustafson.
Here.
Hicks.
Here.
And Fish is absent.
And we have a quorum. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I'll call on our city administrator, Andrew Bremseth, for any changes or updates.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Council members, good evening. Councilmember Hicks has requested that item number 6 be removed from the consent agenda, so we'll do that immediately following the consent agenda. And then number 5 under ordinances and resolutions, we do not have the preliminary engineering report, so we're not able to accept that this evening, but I do want to continue with setting that public hearing on December 20th at 5:30 p.m., so we have adequate time to do that. And you guys will see the preliminary engineering report at your December 1st committee of the whole and then the subsequent council meeting in advance of the public hearing.
Thank you. And with that, I would entertain a motion accepting the agenda as amended.
I'll offer that.
Thanks, Caroline. Thank you. Brent, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Under petitions, there are no bids to award this evening. There are no public hearings. And under petitions and communications, we have 2 retirements to acknowledge this evening. First, Dave Christiansen. And I'll just read this resolution. Whereas Dave Christiansen has submitted, yeah, if you would, Dave, please come forward. Has submitted his intent to retire effective November 30th, 2021, and whereas Dave began employment at the city of Fergus Falls on November 8th, 1983 as a refuse carrier, and whereas on July 16th, 1985 he transferred to the position of a light equipment operator, and whereas on July 12th, 1999 Dave took the position of a heavy equipment operator, and on July 7th, 2014, Dave transferred to the position of Public Works Refuse Foreman, and he has remained in that position until the present time. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Fergus Falls, Minnesota, to accept the resignation of David Christiansen and thank him for his 38 years of dedicated service to the City of Fergus Falls. This above and foregoing resolution was offered at a council meeting by Council Member Anthony Hicks, seconded by Council Member Justin Arneson, and adopted by the following vote. Roll call, please.
Hayward.
Yes.
Holly.
Yes.
Rupert.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Arneson.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes. The resolution is approved. Dave, floor is yours. Thank you for your service.
Not real good at this stuff, but I guess I just want to thank the city for all the years that I've worked here and the great time I've had here working here, and it was all good. So thank you very much. Had quite a career here, so
Well,
it's all been good.
Thank you, Dave, for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. I told Dave he had 20 minutes and he kept it under there. We have a second retirement, and that is of Pat Cava. Whereas Pat has submitted his intent to retire effective December 1st, 2021, and whereas Pat began employment with the city on May 1st, 2014 as a light equipment operator. And on April 6, 2020, he transferred to the position of landfill operator and has remained in that position until the present time. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Fergus Falls to accept his resignation and thank him for his 7 years of dedicated service to the City of Fergus Falls. The above resolution was offered at a regular council meeting by Councilperson Caroline Gustafson, seconded by Councilwoman Krista Hagberg, and adopted by the following vote. Roll call, please.
Hagberg.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Comfort.
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Ferguson.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. Thank you, Pat. Moving along to the under petitions, yes, we have one more fundraising update from the Library Foundation, and I will call on Jennifer Smestad. Good evening, Jennifer.
Well, good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm here with the exciting news from the Library Foundation. Again, Jennifer Smestad, I'm a member of the Advisory Committee for the Library Foundation. And in the month of October, we delivered our final payment and fulfilled our commitment to the city for the $3 million. So it's not lost on us that this is the season of thankfulness and a season of reflection. And we're thrilled with the opportunity to make that commitment and that delivery to you last month. So I thought I would just share with you a few moments, if I could embellish just a little bit. You are speaking to someone who enjoys reading and talking, so forgive me, please, just for a moment. I think it's important to take stock of the success of this partnership, this private-public partnership. It's important, considering the times in which we live, to see the good, to acknowledge the good, and to celebrate the same. This project took an immense amount of effort from a number of different people from across this region, this organization, of the friends, of the foundation, the donors, the city leadership, the city staff, the library staff. It stands truly as a success, and I hope that it stands as an example, as a framework, if you will, for other private partnerships that come before the city. It wasn't without its difficulties. It wasn't without its potholes, if you will, but what we did together matters. And what we did together is important. And what we did together can be replicated. I truly believe that, and I believe others do as well. You know, this initial needs assessment took place in 2013, then launched the legislation effort, the fundraising effort, and the doors themselves opened in early 2019. And just as the city, as the library staff was settling in, the pandemic hit. But I would like to take the opportunity to share with you this evening some of the remarkable and impressive statistics for library usage that I think speak volumes about the importance of this library to this region as a resource for all every day that it is open. In 2020, there were nearly 65,000 visits. Again, this is in the midst of the pandemic. Patrons checked out nearly 180,000 print and digital items, and there were nearly 7,000 reference transactions that took place. There were almost 2,500 viewings of recorded programs. The study and the conference room spaces are in use nearly all day, every day. The spaces accommodate our neighbors that are engaged in work, in meetings, study, and job searches. These are incredibly important resources for our community. The library's renovated space allowed for nearly double the number of public computers available. There's been new programming for adults and children alike, and there are new and expanded collections of materials, digital and print, available for checkout. I'm truly honored and humbled to have been a participant in this process, and I'm immensely proud of those who were involved with it. It would be a shame to relinquish the opportunity to recognize those individuals today, so again, bear with me while I do so. Most importantly and notably to our donors, they've followed through on their pledges. The members of our community don't make pledges without intending to follow through on them. I think that's an important item to note for this project and others that may follow. The Kohl's gift itself that clearly set the wheels in motion to make this successful project a reality. I hope that they truly look down at what we've accomplished and are pleased and have joy. My past and current colleagues on the advisory committee who spent countless hours working through the details, to them, they are appreciated. The friends of the library and the library board with whom we have remarkable partnership, they've been tremendous assets along the way. West Central Initiative Fund, who've been with us through the details and frankly spend most of the time on them, I thank them as well. Our mayor, our city staff, and you, members of the council, thank you so very much for your partnership during this time. And lastly, but certainly very importantly, our library staff, who had to endure quite a bit of turmoil during the entirety of this process, wondering what was before them, what was their future. And as we know, employment is so very important, and treating staff and employees well is incredibly important. And we're so very thankful because they themselves stand as a testament to the welcome nature of the building and set the culture and the environment in which patrons work. I should be clear with you this evening that we don't intend the Library Foundation's work to be complete. And in fact, we've undertaken an effort to set the strategic plan for the foundation for years to come. We have recently reconstituted the advisory committee with new members of the community, and we are in the process of embarking on our next chapter to directly contribute to the enhancement and support of a vibrant library for today and generations to come. Thank you so very much. May each of you have a wonderful Thanksgiving and holiday season. And please, come to the library, where all are welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you for your leadership, and to all the other members of the Library Foundation for making this a reality in our community, this wonderful asset for our community. So thank you for all the hours of work that you've put into this. Thank you very much. This, under the consent agenda this evening, there are 5 items. If we remove item number 6, if anyone would like to remove any of the other items, we can discuss those individually. Seeing none, I would entertain a resolution approving the first 5 items. Thank you,
Offer that, Your Honor.
Tom.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Brent. Roll call, please.
Hager.
Yes.
Horst.
Yes.
Rupert.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Arnson.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. Item number 6 is a resolution approving delinquent utility accounts. And Anthony, do you have a specific question, or do we just want to turn it over to Bill?
No, I just had a question. I noticed that the Westridge Mall is 2 delinquent items, one for $1,787 and another one for $9,874. And obviously, in light of what we're doing for the mall, I just want to bring, obviously, the city's attention to that fact, that they keep asking us for things, we keep delivering, and the next time that they kind of ask for us to bend over, we should reflect that every year they make this list, and every year we have to force them to pay us. And at some point in time, we should just stop and say enough's enough. And if that means upsetting some of the residents of that building, then so be it. But I think we should point out to the people that are in that building that your landlord just does not pay his bill, and he's not a good citizen for our community. It's tireless that we keep asking them to pay, and all of our other residents are expected to pay their bills, and this guy just doesn't do that. He doesn't respect us at all. And so I just want to point that out.
Sure. Thanks, Anthony.
With that, I'll make a motion to obviously accept the digging list so that it goes on there.
The resolution. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Someone like to second that? Thanks, Krista. Any further comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Piper.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Clifford.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Arneson.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. Under ordinance and resolutions tonight, we have the first reading of ordinance 20, 8th series, amending the zoning map from R1 to RA for Timber Ridge Estates. Let's need someone to introduce that this evening.
I'll do that.
Thank you, Caroline.
Could we ask where actually is it?
Yeah, Andrew, can you address that?
I'm going to defer to Clara, I think.
Clara?
So, Timber Ridge Estates, okay, I'm trying to remember which one this is. It is, huh? Is this the Otter Tail Power one? Oh, okay. Are you sure?
Yes.
there a map in
Your
the
Honor,
file?
yes. This is out on, if you're going east on Main Street, it's part of the footprint of the Otter Tail Power solar project. They own a couple of lots that were right along Main Street that were zoned residential. And they're not necessarily part of any panels or anything along those lines, but it does fit within all of the property that Otter Tail Power owns. And they wanted to get that rezoned to RA, knowing that it would never be redeveloped into residential, or at least not during the life of the solar project.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 2 is a second reading of ordinance 19, 8th series, dealing with the vacation of campus addition and outlot B. This has been to committee and has been introduced. If anyone has any questions. Roll call, please.
Piper.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Clifford.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Arneson.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
That ordinance is approved. Item number 3 is a resolution initiating public improvement 9508, which is Phase 3 of the RTC preservation project. This was discussed at our committee meeting. Brian, did you have any brief remarks? This is just initiating the project so we can get the bids, which will then come back to the council for us to determine
Yes.
the scope of the project, correct?
Yes, Your Honor. No, we'll be coming back with more of a professional services agreement with Stantec. I did have some notes noted from conversation at Councilmember Kwame, and I don't have all that information back, but those are things we'll look to integrate into the bidding documents.
And obviously, everything's going to be coming back to the council before.
Correct.
This is just initiating the project to allow you to get those documents. Would someone like to offer that resolution?
And I have a question as well.
Sure. Anthony, thank you. Someone like to second?
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Krista. Go ahead, Anthony.
I mean, is there anything wrong in us, like, just giving the money back to the state? I mean, why, we kind of seem hell-bent on spending the money, and, it seems like we pay Stantec a lot of money every time to kind of work these projects out, and I think, we have an obligation to the tower, but, we keep spending money, and sometimes, are we really spending good money kind of on these buildings when we don't really have an end sight for where they're actually really going to go? And would it look better with the state if occasionally we actually gave the money back or relinquished the right to use it, as opposed to, so that when we go back the next time, when we have something worthwhile and we ask them for money?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point. I do think we need to, and I think when we get the bids back, I think you may also make the point that the tower, I do think we should do something with the tower and get the mold out of there and, for the public safety and the public benefit of actually being able to be in that building. But definitely something I think we should consider when you bring the documents back. And Brian, just so these are going to be broken down so we can choose which ones we want to move forward with and which ones we don't, correct? That's what you intend when you bring it back?
If you can, Your Honor. Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Yes. That was, I understand there was the comments made and everything, and that was the main impetus for a base contract, was if money spent to expend it on the administration building. And then we have east and west attached, and we'd look to probably develop a few alternates with some of these other assessment requests, such as, sealing up the windows in the lower levels. There's quite a few windows, so we'll have to estimate that cost and then figure out how many quantities of windows that we'd have to look at and everything. So that was an addition onto it. But yeah, I would anticipate with this, based with the budget, that we're going to be bidding in alternates with the base bid pretty much consistent with the administration building, mold mitigation, ventilation, and access improvements. So hopefully we could maintain, if the council's desire to open up tours in the in the future when that's done. I don't want to say near future, but for the tower itself, because we simply don't have enough money to do all the mold mitigation throughout the whole campus.
Sure. Thanks, Brian. So this resolution initiates the project, and we'll have that conversation when we get those documents back, right?
Yep.
You good with that? All right. Scott?
I can't resist making some comment. This is near and dear to me and to a lot of folks in town, and I just have to respond to some of the comments that have been made, not only now, but in previous meetings. Saying that, for example, that there's no end in sight, there clearly is. We've been given a master plan that we spent 2 years in development, and the master plan calls for redevelopment of the building. It has described the building as being an excellent candidate for restoration and renovation. It's described as being structurally sound. It's not unsafe, with the exception of the mold, making it, a bad air environment, but it's not falling on people. You're not going to fall through the floor if you walk through there, that kind of a thing. It needs cleaning up, it needs protection, it needs to have the roof fixed and the gutters fixed and the downspouts fixed so that it won't continue to deteriorate. And we've been given an opportunity to do that, and we need to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And I anticipate we'll continue this discussion when we get some documents back from Stantec. It'll be a good discussion. Thank you, Brian. Roll call, please.
Ingrid.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Ferguson.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. Item number 4 is a resolution extending the property tax rebate program through 2024 to match Otter Tail County's timeline extension. And I'll call on Community Development Manager Clara Beck. Good evening, Clara.
Good evening, Mayor. Yes, we were going to talk about this at Committee of the Whole last week, but we ran out of time. The county has extended a couple of the parts of their tax rebate program and are asking the city to match at least one of those extensions. So the county has increased the amount that they will rebate up to $10,000. The county is not asking us to increase our rebate amounts. We will keep it at the $5,000 that we have already agreed to. But what they are requesting is that we extend the program for another year, so people would be able to apply through 2024 instead of through 2023. So that's what I'm putting before you tonight, is to see if you are willing to extend that program to match what the county has done. And I did invite Amy to come tonight from the county, just in case there are any questions about the county's program and the conversations that they had about what their extensions were and the their further rebating. So Amy, I don't know if you have anything you want to say or if just questions. Okay. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Clara. Would someone like to offer that so we can have discussion?
I'll offer that.
Thanks, Krista.
Second there, Your Honor.
Thank you, Tom. Questions for either Clara or Amy? Comments? Go ahead, Anthony.
I would say that we have a lot of things in the works at this point in time in terms of kind of TIF programs on housing, as well as obviously the programs the houses that are already on this program. At some point in time, we also do have to kind of collect taxes to pay for the goods and services of the city. So I think I would sooner rather stick with the deadline of 2023, and so therefore I would be voting against it.
Thanks, Anthony. Other questions or comments?
I would maybe, Amy, would you want to just share some of the results that we've gotten out of that program?
and maybe make a case as to why we would want to continue it.
Sure.
evening,
Mayor,
Amy.
council members. I'll start by giving just a little bit of further background to why the county commissioners considered and then approved the changes to the county's portion of this program. Recognizing the last year and a half, there's been a lot of changes in the housing market, both increased expenses, supply chain issues, and people's delayed plans because of those issues and other things of uncertainty. And so they really wanted to recognize, one, that those things are happening. The value, we've also seen values go up pretty extensively, more than we've seen in the past. And I'm sure you all, if you've been at all, know of anyone who's purchased a home, sold a home. Those values are going to catch up on the assessed value side as well, because ultimately those are based on sales. And so recognizing that in year 4 of someone's 5-year rebate, their value is going to be probably higher, just using that as an example, but value is going to be higher maybe than what it was envisioned. So they may not get their full 5 years of rebate. So that's the background of why the 10,000, so allowing for most applicants to receive a full 5-year of rebate. So that was the impetus for increasing the eligible amount, which is retroactive. In case folks are listening who had applied previously. So we are going back to any prior applicants for that amount of maximum eligibility, still capping at the 5 years after the home is built. And then again, extending to the end of 2024 for the application period was twofold. One, again, what I talked about, the supply chain issues and challenges in people just being able to build their homes, but also recognizing that that the big build program, if the bigger piece of it was through 2025. So by allowing applications through 2024 and then 1 year to build, it aligns with kind of that bigger goal of the 5,000 units within the county in that time period. So those were some of the discussion points. Total applications, we've seen about 150 countywide. The vast majority, probably, I don't have the stats, 75% are in township areas. So we are seeing a lot more residential growth. On a numbers perspective, we are a large county with lots of townships as well. And as mentioned, you know, if there are single family districts that are in tax increment financing districts, which many of our communities have, Perham, Ottertail, Battle Lake, New York Mills, just for example, those homes are not eligible for the tax rebate. So there's other growth happening, but they are excluded from accessing this program. So yeah, we continue to try to get the word out and are using it, more to, as we try to attract workers, increase the inventory, still seeing really historic lows of vacancy rates for our multifamily rental. We're likely under 2% rental vacancy, and certainly our inventory for sale homes is very, very low as well. Our demand is very high, which is good because we hope new people are coming into the county, but it's still very challenging for those living here, looking for different housing products as well. So.
Thank you, Amy. Any further questions?
I guess I would just comment that yes, it is taxes that aren't being collected, but there's so many other fringe benefits. It creates jobs, it creates sales at our lumber yards, or at least it spurs that. And and our county really, really needs housing, and this is one way that we can start working towards that solution. So I would be inclined to support it for that reason.
Thanks, Tom. Any further comments before we call for the vote? Roll call, please.
Hagberg.
Yes.
Kwame.
Yes.
Ruger.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Ferguson.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Hicks.
Nope.
That resolution is approved. Item number 6, we do not, as Andrew mentioned, have the preliminary engineering report, but we will entertain a resolution setting the public hearing for Campus View Edition for December 20th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. in the City Council chambers. Someone like to offer that resolution?
Offer, Your Honor.
Thank you, Justin.
I'll second.
Thanks, Krista. Roll call, please.
Egbert,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Rufer,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Ernst.
Yes.
Christensen.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
That resolution was approved. Tonight, we have claims in the amount of $5,092,904.09. If there's any questions, we'll direct them to our city finance director.
I'll offer we pay the bills.
Thank you, Krista.
I'll second.
Thank
and
you,
ask for
Scott.
any
Go ahead.
comment. We don't often spend $5 million at one of these meetings. It's usually more around $2 million. And so in this case, there were a couple of pretty high dollar items, and I asked Bill if he would fill us in on what those were.
Thanks, Scott. Good evening, Bill.
Good evening. Yeah, within the resolution tonight, and you see this every year at this time, we make our bond payments. So you'll see a vendor, Northland Securities, within the resolution, and we're paying, just towards $2.3 million to Northland Securities. They're our paying agents, so they make all our bond principal and interest payments. So that's for the ongoing debt that we have outstanding, making those payments. Of course, it's the larger payment this time of the year because we've collected revenues throughout the year. So we structure the bond payments where you're paying your principal and interest now, you pay just interest in the summer. The other one you'll see on here is for Wells Fargo, and that's Wells Fargo holds our investments. They're managed by Galliard Capital Management, and you'll see that typically every month where investments are paying down principal payments to us that we're holding, paying interest payments, goes into the cash account with Wells Fargo. We reinvest that then back into the portfolio. Those flow through your resolution of accounts here as payments to Wells Fargo investments, and that was about 1.7 million. So those are your two largest ones there. So.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Egbert,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Rufer,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Ernst.
Yes.
Christensen.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. There are no board, committee, or department reports. Under reports from staff and administrative officers, we will look for a motion directing the city attorney to draft proposed changes to City Code Chapter 32, dealing with city organizations. And again, we'll call on our community development manager, Clara Beck.
Yes, this is another item we were going to discuss at a committee of the whole, but again, we ran out of time. A while back, I can't quite remember how long ago it was, but we started a discussion about boards and commissions and the relationship between council and those boards and commissions and the time commitments that we are getting from community members and the time commitments that we're having from staff members, and just looking at if there are ways that we can maybe be a little bit more efficient, or that we can clarify some of the roles or make the lines of communication a little bit clearer and more open. So in order to do that, we looked back at the ordinances, which hadn't really been updated for a while, and Lynn and I have gone through, and with various input from people on boards and commissions, other staff members, etc., we have made some suggested changes to those ordinances regarding boards and commissions. And so my suggestion tonight is that you take the suggestions that we've given you and ask the city attorney's office to draft those changes. Some of the bigger changes are probably the fact that we're taking a lot of our boards and commissions that are currently 5-member, and we're moving them down to 3-member in order to help us reach quorums. That is an issue that we have currently. We are also suggesting that the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee, which has not had a meeting in quite some time, is apparently having some trouble getting a quorum, gets rolled into the Parks Board. This does not mean that there would not be a voice for this board or commission. It would just mean that they would need to be applying to be a member of the Parks Board so that they can have their voice heard, just in a different venue and with maybe a larger quorum than what they're getting right now. Another change that we are suggesting is that some of these boards and commissions, some of these smaller ones that we're moving from 5-member to 3-member, also be designated as ad hoc committees, which means that they would be meeting based on the work that they have in front of them. So whether that would be work that's being handed down to them from council members, or whether that would be work that they're bringing forward and saying, hey, we want to focus on this, council give us the go-ahead. So it just sort of clarifies a little bit what their role is, and then also cuts down on maybe months where where they're a little light on work, they maybe don't have to have a meeting committed that month. So those are some of the changes. I guess, any questions about what we're thinking or? Oh, right, yes. And then we also, in discussion with the Natural Resources Committee, I don't know if you saw the flurry of emails that was going around today. They've been weighing whether or not the Natural Resources Committee wants to join and become like an official city committee. And the way that they're leaning now is that, yes, they do want to be recognized as a board in the ordinance. So they are going to probably be sending a request to be added. But I did add a section of code where they could be included in there. So thank you, Lynn. Am I missing anything else?
And just to clarify the process, so if we approve a motion draft to have the city attorney draft the proposed changes, it still comes back to the council. Because I know there's some of these committee members, I think they want their voice to be heard in this process. And, you know, like you mentioned, the bike ped, that's one that I've heard from. And so I think that we all need to just hear those different opinions, the different voices from each of the committees, and have that discussion with staff, and what is the most effective way to allow these voices to be part of the process that is efficient and manageable for staff and allows them the opportunity. So that process is still going to come back to us, right? We still have to approve the ordinance, and we can make any changes or modifications at that as we see it in print, correct?
Yeah, this would be a good candidate to go through the committee, the whole process.
Yeah.
With an ordinance in hand.
Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking. And then we can make sure that all the committees that are affected know about that meeting. They can be there. We can have just because we've been dealing with this for a couple of years, trying to figure out how do we most effectively run these committees to allow the public's voice. But again, make sure that people are actually showing up and doing the work, and there's clear lines of communication, and they're on the same track with the council, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a continuation of that process, and we'll make sure that those committees have their voice. With that, would someone like to?
I can make a motion, but I got some comments.
Yeah, you bet.
I'll second.
So we got a motion and a second. Go ahead, Anthony.
Under membership, it says that, members shall be appointed by the mayor and the appointment confirmed by the council at the first regular meeting in January, and that's being suggested that we go last regular meeting in December. As obviously we are elected, there could be a change, and so that would mean the old council would be appointing members that could not be here going forward. So I think it should remain as January, because technically, if you lose the election in November, you're not necessarily available in January.
It's a good point. I didn't think of that. We were thinking of it from the side of like a committee member could then just start right away in January. But
Yep.
yeah, that's definitely something to consider.
And then under vacancies and removal of members, it says a member's absence from 3 consecutive meetings unless excused by action of the council. How is that ruling going to apply to ad hoc committees? Because obviously if you only had 2 ad hoc meetings in a year and you missed both of them, do you still get struck off?
We can make it say 3, if you miss 3 meetings that are held.
So anyways, these are things to think about.
Yep.
Changing residence, termination of a member's residence in the city. We did have some members that were in the county and not in the city. So it was kind of like something to kind of consider.
What one was that under?
That's under membership, vacancies and removals.
Was that one?
I thought
that got struck at one point.
I thought we did strike that
It was definitely in the
once.
language when I was going through it.
Okay.
I think it's gone a couple of ways.
Okay.
At some point, they required all members to be city residents, and at some point, they allowed
Yep.
other memberships to be
Yeah.
outside. So, I mean, the question is what do you want?
Well, I've always thought that if we don't require city staff, even the city administrator to live within the city limits, although he does. He does. But that's not even a requirement for city staff, so I don't know how we would require, I mean, there's a lot of people with expertise and that are members of the community that live just outside, like,
Yep.
That's my thought. I mean, if we don't require city staff, I don't know how we could require.
I can add to that, Your Honor. I think that's right. I mean, these committees are,
A lot of them work in town.
they're doing the work that the council's given them direction on and/or suggested. The council at the end of the day has the decision.
Yeah.
To move forward on an expense, if you will, to the city. So I think having them out to solicit their input and their expertise, I think makes complete sense. And at the end of the day, the council will have the overall decision to move something forward or not. That comes forth from that subcommittee. So I would be for extending it outside city limits.
And then the other one is that on some of the boards, it says to establish written rules and regulations for use, management, operation of, and then the same shall be approved by the action of the city council. And then on some of the boards, that's been deleted. I think that's kind of an unfair scenario. That some boards can make recommendation, and I would sort of say, rather than to establish written rule, maybe it should be to make recommendation on rules.
That would be the proper function of a
Yeah.
commission or board.
And it says, like under the library, it says to establish written rules. There's some that say to written, and then there's some that it got struck out on. And I think in light of fairness, that should be kind of uniform.
Yeah, I'll just stress, this is a draft.
Okay.
That's why I wanted it to go to.
Yeah. And then under public arts, there was one that said to seek financial support for the art in public places. And I know the Arts Commission has kind of helped raise money from public things. So do we want to exclude them of something that historically they actually were pretty good at?
I would argue maybe they're not actually that good at that.
Right.
Although that was a lot of private donation. And so at least specifically for the public arts one, I was just trying to make that match with reality a little bit more. I don't think we're excluding, like we're not telling them they can't seek money. Because any board or commission can, if council asks, do something like apply for a grant.
Right.
Theirs just specifically mentioned it, but there's some contention within the group members of how much support they should be getting from the city council to do the work that they want to do, and versus how much they should have to be seeking support elsewhere.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking money to sort of operate the organization, but money to kind of like garner grants, basically.
Yeah, I don't think we're taking away their ability to apply for grants, but we can clarify that, certainly.
And then my last one, if I can read my writing. It was about the Natural Resources Advisory, but it's like my question, I think, was why did they have a choice to do something different? Either if they want recognition by the council, then they should be in or out.
Well, and importantly too, that, they're subject to the open meeting laws.
Yeah.
And I think it makes it sense. And unless you're going to establish a committee, for a special project, I think your standing committees should be recognized in the ordinance and make it very clear that they're subject to the open meeting laws and everything else that comes with it.
So, yeah, that's all the comments I had.
Thanks, Anthony. Scott?
The question that I would have, it was under the Port Act, notes that were under the Port Act. And I guess I just don't know this answer, so I'm going to ask it. The executive director is apparently supposed to be staff of the city. Is that currently the case? Are you
That's
considered
clear.
the executive director? Okay. But then it also says, and all other authority staff shall be employees of the city. Well, there's other members of the Port Authority that are not employees of the city, but what staff does the Port Authority have?
Jill.
Yep, one.
And that's it? Okay. That I needed to understand better.
Sure. Thanks. Other questions? Motion on the floor is to have the city attorney incorporate these changes into a document that can be brought back to the committee and the groups for discussion at a committee of the whole meeting. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. There is no old, unfinished, or new business that I'm aware of. Lynn, did you have any announcements? Anyone else have any announcements? With that, we're adjourned.
A long time. Good luck in your Divvied out, we don't have a meeting.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully there's a good
ever, it
story there.
seems like.
I just, during the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Security.